A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are in good. Today is 17th March 2020. Day is Tuesday. We have five important articles. They are interconnected with each other. First of all, let me tell you about this one. This is going to be the last one, closing the gender gap in science. We are going to talk about role of women in science, the issues that they face, and some other things. So this will be the last one. First, we will talk about a crisis hit Iran at the crossroads. This article is written by a former ambassador of India. And here he is talking about, in the end, he is talking about SARC, he is talking about Iran's situation, the things through which Iran is going through. It's about coronavirus and sanctions and other things. Then we will talk about SARC in detail, back to SARC editorial. Then we have from virtual conferencing to real leadership. This is about this video conference that was conducted by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It was about SARC, but we are not going to limit ourselves with SARC. We are going to talk about, it was about coronavirus, sorry. But we are not going to limit ourselves with coronavirus. We are going to talk about SARC and some diplomatic points associated with this article. Then fight for the finite. This one is again about coronavirus and a problematic strategy. This one is about Kerala and it's about coronavirus. So many important articles, and you can see a common theme. Most of these articles is SARC and coronavirus. But before we do that, dear friends, I would like to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses which are available for various different competitive exams. You can purchase them from StudyIQ.com. They are designed by the best faculties of our country with the help of our pen drive and tablet courses. There are thousands of students out there. They have cracked various different competitive exams. If you have any further queries, doubts regarding it, feel free and give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. You want to download the PDF of today's lecture, do join my Telegram channel. If you want to get in touch with me, you want to send messages or greetings and things, then you can use FB platform. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, Iran has been in news for various different reasons in recent past. Different challenges through which Iran has been going for a very long period of time now, but things are a bit shaky starting from the end of 2019, and January was a very challenging time for Iran, and at present this coronavirus is also creating lots and lots of problems for Iran. 900 have passed away and 14,000 cases of infection have been registered in Iran. Iran is one of the hardest hit among the West Asian countries, and if we go back in the recent past of Iran, then we find that at the end of 2019, second half particularly, protests were going on in Iran, and these protests were going on because of high inflation. They have high inflation because of sanctions. Now, what these sanctions are all about, we are going to talk about it in detail as well. So for now, just hold this topic or this word sanction in your mind, and I'll explain it to you in like few minutes. In January, we saw this death of Qasem Soleimani. Remember Soleimani? We have talked about him in detail, right? So you have this Qasem Soleimani incident. Then in the end of Jan, Iran vowed to support armed Palestinian group. So this was again a new challenge, more sanctions. And at present, you know that this coronavirus thing is going on, and this can create a social unrest as well in Iran. Now, Iran has already approached International Monetary Fund, and it has asked for a $5 billion emergency funding to combat this pandemic. Now, it is important for the world to help Iran because Iran is sharing its borders with various different countries, and many of these borders are very porous in nature. So there are high chances that this virus can spread from Iran to other parts or other countries of this region. US Treasury has lifted some sanctions on the Central Bank of Iran to facilitate humanitarian trade such as the import of testing kits for COVID-19. Now, if we go back to sanctions, right, it's been 2 years now that nearly on 8th May 2020 will mark the second anniversary of this USA's withdrawal from Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, that is JCPOA, or commonly known as Iran nuclear deal. I'll give you a brief about this JCPOA very quickly, right, as quickly as possible. So basically in this Iran nuclear deal, you have this P5 countries of United Nations Security Council, permanent 5 members, plus you add Germany. So basically these 6 countries, they had a thorough discussion and a final agreement with Iran, and this is known as JCPOA, or Iran nuclear deal. Iran was producing nuclear weapons to protect itself from all these threats that Iran has from Saudi Arabia, Israel and USA. So it was in this pursuit of nuclear weapons. Sanctions were applied on Iran, and after this discussions and many ups and downs, finally the world, under this United Nations umbrella, these 7 countries, they signed this joint comprehensive deal, this joint comprehensive plan of action. Now, Mr. Trump became the president. This JCPOA was signed during Obama's tenure, and it is considered as one of the most successful thing that Obama has done. And then Mr. Trump comes in, and he's not happy with this Iran nuclear deal. And 2 years ago, on 8th May 2018, he rejected this deal, and more sanctions were applied on Iran. So Iran is in pursuit of, again, Iran has started making nuclear weapons, and since July 2019, Iran has lifted all restrictions on its stockpiles of enriched uranium and heavy water. UK, France, Germany, these 3 countries are part of this. These 2 countries are part of this P5, and Germany was part of this whole deal. So together, these 3 countries have invoked the JCPOA dispute resolution mechanism as early as in January this year, and we cannot see any breakthrough so far. The chances are that this matter will be taken on board during this United Nations Security Council meeting. China may protect Iran, right? So if China protects China and Russia, these are the 2 countries with which Iran is sharing good relationship. They had a marine security belt. This is a name of military exercise, naval exercise that they conducted here in Persian Gulf, particularly in Strait of Hormuz. So it was conducted by China, China, Iran and Russia over here. This portion that you can see here, this is Strait of Hormuz, right? This one. And this is Persian Gulf, this is Gulf of Oman. So the Strait of Hormuz is very important. I'm sure regular students, you know the importance of Strait of Hormuz. We have talked about it earlier on as well. And for new students, let me tell you very briefly that all these oil-producing countries, right, they produce their oils. Most of their oils is produced here, and then it is transported via waterways, and it has to pass through this Strait of Hormuz. And this Strait of Hormuz is under Iran's control. So this marine security belt between these 3 countries, China, Iran and Russia, this can be converted into Quad as well, isn't it? There are chances that it will become a Quad. Quad basically means a group of 4 countries where you will have Russia, you will have Iran, you will have China, and the last member will be Pakistan. And as you can see here, right, Afghanistan and Pakistan, they share their borders with Iran, and these borders are quite porous. So there are so many people, they are abandoning Afghanistan, and they're basically not Afghanistan, but they are abandoning this Iran, and they are entering Afghanistan to protect themselves and their family members from this coronavirus spread. And this can bring coronavirus to Afghanistan and Pakistan, and it will be introduction in SAARC region. And of course, we have observed some cases in our country as well. We have clocked more than some 112 cases in our country. But if this coronavirus is entering from Afghanistan and Pakistan, then this will bring more challenges, and it can spread to other countries as well, like Turkmenistan, Central Asian portion. Then you have this Azerbaijan and Armenia and Turkey and Iraq and Kuwait and other places, Saudi Arabia and other countries as well. So it is important for the world to help Iran at this point, and USA continues to implement its maximum pressure policy, which is not going to be that helpful. Now, USA is going to continue with this maximum pressure policy because of this presidential elections are not that far, and USA wants to create this impression that it has sorted out Iran, for now. And China is a country that is a good friend of Iran. As you know, we have talked about this marine security belt. China is the only major country that has kept purchasing oil from Iran. The problem is that China is not able to make payments, or I would rather say that it is eschewing payments, it is delaying payments in order to avoid triggering more sanctions against Chinese entities. So this is, of course, it is morally as well, in future it will benefit financially as well. It will bring benefits, like China is purchasing oil from Iran, so it's going to be good for Iran. But the thing is, at present, it is not going to help that much. So as far as money is concerned, working capital or cash flow is concerned, it's a very difficult time for Iran. Now, Iran's parliamentary elections in February, first round is already over, and hardliners are affirmed. You can say their roots are deepening, and this is going to be a big challenge for the world. At present, the regime that we have in Iran is you can say it's not that hard regime. I would say it is a soft regime. But imagine if hardliners comes in, they will go ahead with the production of this this nuclear weapons, and then they will not join any sort of meetings and things like that, and it's going to be you have this double issues. One side coronavirus, on the other side a nuclear weapon. So this article ends with this SARC. It ends with this reference to SARC. But we are going to talk about SARC in detail. We are going to jump on to this, back to SARC. This is an editorial, as you can see, this one, right? And then we are going to jump on to this one, then this one, and this one. Right, so let's quickly crack on. So as we have talked about this Iran and situations that are going on in Iran, let's talk about coronavirus and SARC region. Now, around the world, the latest figure is that 1,75,250 people have been affected by this coronavirus, and this coronavirus has claimed 6,700 lives globally. Now, SARC region, first of all, let us locate this country. SARC stands for South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation, and you have 8 countries. I'm going to quickly number them. One is Afghanistan, then you have Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Maldives. So it all started back in 80s. I'm going to take you through brief history of this group as well. SARC is in a hibernation mode since 2016. And I have a question for you. Question number 1 is, why SARC's last 2016's meeting was cancelled? What is the main reason behind it? It was supposed to be held in Pakistan, but this was cancelled. So give me the main reason behind it. 1, 2, or maximum 3 lines will be more than enough for this answer. Right, Prime Minister Narendra Modi conducted a SARC video conference. All the leaders of this group, right, they were present apart from Imran Khan. Instead of Imran Khan, Health Minister of Pakistan took part in this SARC video conference. And this conference was all about coronavirus, how we can control this pandemic, how we understand that political borders are not a sort of, you can say, you cannot control this sort of pandemics, right? They do not recognize political borders. And in times of trouble, reaching out to neighboring countries is the most obvious course of action. It's quite logical, as we have already talked about this thing. Remember that if it enters here, and if we don't help Pakistan, Afghanistan, and other neighboring countries, then there are many things, right? First thing is, as a leader, as a big brother of this region, it is important that India takes a stand, and that's what India has done. The second thing is, India is more powerful in this region. India is the dominant country in this region. So it is, as a leader, it is our responsibility that we take a call and then we help other countries if they need any help. And India has said that India has declared a $10 million COVID-19 emergency fund, and this fund can be utilized by any country, right, for emergency purposes. And I'm sure other countries are going to contribute a little bit of money, whatever they can, for this COVID 2019. Afghanistan and Pakistan, we have discussed about these borders. Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. These are tiny countries, and their main source of income is tourism. And this coronavirus, this whole thing is going to bring economical troubles for these countries, because tourism on this industry is destroyed because of this coronavirus. Now, there are two big concerns. The first one is viruses spread in the continent. The second thing is underreporting. The big problem with underreporting, or why we can find underreporting here, is because these countries, right, we don't have that robust medical facilities in our countries, in SAARC region. So underreporting is something that can take place, and this is a big issue. For a very long period of time, tiny countries like Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Bhutan, they have advised that we should revive a SAARC initiative, but most of the time it is because of this Pakistan and India, the trouble that is going on between these two leaders, or these two major countries. Because of these two countries, SAARC is in, you can say, a deactive mode for a very long period of time. Now, this jumping on to third article, from virtual conferencing to real leadership. Now, new lease for life for SAARC has been given by Prime Minister. The success of Modi SAARC initiative will largely depend on India, the dominant power of the region in every sense. And yesterday we were talking about this thing in daily financial news analysis. I told you about a very important point, that we should look at this whole thing, this initiative, not just from from medical point of view or from coronavirus point of view, but also from diplomatic point of view as well. This is a diplomatic shot by Prime Minister Modi. Modi's initiative put Imran in a spot. If he accepted it, he would open himself to domestic criticism. If he rejected it, he would put himself in false position internationally for rejecting an opportunity to engage with India on a humanitarian issue. What is at test is India's leadership, not Islamabad's follies. And formation of rapid response team was also declared by Prime Minister Modi. He said that doctors, specialists, we have testing equipments and other items are ready, and they can be disposed, right? They can be, these facilities will be made available to any country in this region. If they need, they just have to, shout out, and India is there for these countries. Now, this is a moment thus of a rare opportunity for India to establish a firm imprimatur over the region and to secure an abiding partnership for our shared destiny. It's also an opportunity for our country, as this line covers it already, that what is at test is India's leadership, right? And if we go back to the history of SAARC, it was born somewhere in 1980s. 85 was its first meeting, and credit goes to General Zia-ur Rahman of Bangladesh. He was the main leader, and it was his idea. He initiated this thing, and he, as a country, as a very important player of Bangladesh, he dispatched special envoys to the capitals of the SAARC countries, and finally the first summit took place. Right, it was attended by 7 leaders of 7 countries, and this brings me to question number 2 of the day. This is your question number 2. Which was the last country to join SAARC? So name that country and also give me the year of that country joining SAARC, right? So you have 2 questions, and I have asked you 2 questions, and I expect you guys to take active part in answering these questions. I have observed that Hindi lecture, I'm sure you'd be aware about this thing, that this Hindu analysis is delivered in 2 languages. One is Hindi version and the second one is English version. And I take both these versions, so I know Hindi students, right, followers of those, that Hindi series, they are quite active. But when it comes to this English series, you should have an upper hand, because you guys are familiar with this language of English. This lecture is delivered to you in English, and the written content, the Hindu newspaper itself is an English daily. So I don't understand why you guys don't take part in question series, and I'm going to give you like 4-5 days more If I don't see that result, then I will stop asking you questions forever. Then I will not entertain any sort of requests regarding resuming these questions. I am going to continue questions with Hindi students because they are more responsive. They take questions seriously. They know the value of this thing because these questions, they have a purpose. I want you guys to do a little bit of research. The things that I ask you are never, most of the time, the questions are designed in such a way that it will push you to do a little bit of research, and that will help you in your holistic development as far as your examination preparation is concerned. So take it very seriously. Now, let's move on. So in the nearly 35 years of its existence, even its champions will concede, however, that SARC has to put it up. SARC, short and sweet answer is that SARC is not that productive, or its track record is not that healthy. And the main reason is because India and Pakistan are rivalry. South Asia is the world's least integrated region as well. Less than 5% of the trade of SARC countries is within. And a South Asian free trade zone agreed on in 2006 remains in reality a chimera. Chimera basically means a sort of imagination. So this reminds us of 1997's Malé summit that took place in the capital of Maldives. At that point of time, then Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, had told then Prime Minister of India, I.K. Gujral, in Punjabi that, I know you cannot give me Kashmir and you know I cannot grab it from you, but let us just talk and move on. If we can bring back the same spirit, right, then things can improve. But for that, of course, India has given so many chances to Pakistan. So this time Pakistan has to prove that it will control or rein this terrorism thing, and then only India can get on board. So the ball is in Pakistan's court. Fight for the finite. Now, demand in most sectors will continue to exceed supply in the times of pandemic. Most of the stores are going to get closed, and we also find that this demand for testing kits, hospital beds, ventilators, masks, hand sanitizers, other things. Like in UK, can you believe a sanitizer that normally costs you £1, you have to pay 15-20 pounds for a small bottle of hand sanitizer. So there is clear mismatch in demand and supply, with India crossing 100 positive cases, 112 as far as I know. 112. This is the latest figure. I don't know exactly now what is the latest figure, but till last night it was 112 or something. So 100 plus positive cases. It is impossible to ignore the question about whether the health system is robust enough to meet this emergency. We spend only a tiny portion of our GDP in after health. It is just 1%, and this 1% it's been there for a very long period of time. Right, the range has been, the highest was 1.28 and the lowest was 0.98%. So 1% is of range, and Prime Minister Modi has promised that he is going to, by 2025, India will be spending 2.5% of our GDP after health. And it's not just about expenditure, but it's not about how much we are spending, it's also about how we are spending it. So if we increase our expenses, health expenses, but if our steps are reactive, then that's not going to help us. We have to be more proactive. There is a saying as well, isn't it, that it is better to be safe than sorry, and this is something that we need to implement. This should be our core mantra when it comes to our health setup or health structure. As per National Health Profile 2019 collated by the Central Bureau of Health Intelligence Unit of the Directorate General of Health Services, there has been no significant change in healthcare expenditure since 2009-10. And WHO has also said that out-of-pocket payments remain common in India, which in 2014 was estimated at 62%. I'm not sure about the latest figure. As I'm speaking with you right now, I'm not sure about the latest figure after this PMJAY's introduction, after Ayushman Bharat's introduction, but the earlier figure before PMJAY was that every year 6 crore households, right, they used to come under poverty because of this out-of-pocket expenses. So I'm sure this situation, or there will be a drop in this number, but we don't know exactly how much, but 6 crore was earlier on, the situation because of this out-of-pocket expense. So this is something that we need to work on. Now, a problematic testing strategy. This is very sad news coming from Kerala. And I've heard World Health Organization has been urging countries that have reported many laboratories confirmed COVID-19 cases to become more aggressive in testing. And Kerala Health Ministry has issued a very strange notification or guideline. It has said that all those people who have low-grade fever, mild sore throats, diarrhea and things, if they are coming from countries with ongoing COVID-19 local transmission and contacts of confirmed suspect or cases will not be tested for virus. And this is very strange. This is not ethical at all. Kerala is a state that has proved its mettle during this Nipah virus outbreak. And, Kerala is doing quite well as well. Reasonably speaking, Kerala is on the top position when it comes to, when you compare it with other states. Kerala's health system is quite robust. And if Kerala, having all these laboratories, if it is going to follow this sort of, strategy, and if it's not going to be that serious as far as this testing is concerned, then this will create a bad image, as well as it will create a sort of bad practice for other states. And, we will get, more people will be affected by this coronavirus. And since about 80% of those with COVID-19 exhibit only mild symptoms and recover without special treatment, that does not mean that we should let them go freely, right? You have to quarantine some people so that we can control this spread. And ICMR has already said that we have got 30 days to go. Yesterday, one of my colleagues, Veronica, came out with a lecture on this 30 days to go thing, right? You will find it on our channel. That ICMR has already said that if in next 30 days, if we don't act proactively, India as a country, then we may enter stage 3 of this pandemic, and it's going to be bad for our country, very, very bad and bleak. Closing the gender gap in science. This one is altogether different topic, right? Let's go through it as well, and then we will wrap up today's discussion. So India celebrates National Science Day on 28th February every year. Very important information for your prelims examination. And C.V. Raman he's the main person who discovered this scattering of light. And we celebrate this National Science Day. We celebrate this day because it was on this day, February 28th, on which he discovered this scattering of light. Now, 2020's theme is women in science, and despite his Raman's, if we talk about him, he was quite progressive in terms of politics, philosophically as well. He was quite progressive. But when it comes to ladies, or when it comes to women, his views were patriarchal, not thoroughly, but he was basically a traditionalist, right? And I don't blame him. That was the environment at that point of time. But things are different. We are talking about after 100 years now, isn't it? So, nearly 100 years. So, now things are different. Awareness is there. And, ladies, they have proved themselves as well that, we know their potential. They are not inferior at all. A few years ago, or maybe 100 years ago, 100 years ago, they were considered inferior. But they are not, right? This has been proved. Now, among his 3 women students, only Anna Mani was able to choose a scientific career, although she could not get a doctoral degree. Sunanda Bai was not awarded PhD, and she committed suicide for unknown reasons. Lalitha Doraiswamy left her studies and chose to marry S. Chandrasekharan, who was awarded Nobel Prize in Physics back in 1983. So the question is, why did this talented women fail to get their due? It is because of culture, right? And it was even today as well, we find this sort of things going on. We are going to talk about it. Now, it's also interesting to note that Janki Ammal opted to pursue master's degree from Michigan State University, and she continued her scientific career even after coming back to India, but then she left India for good. And the questions at that point of time, and the questions that are common even today as well, like we have to ask these questions, that have gender attitudes have gender attitudes changed? Do we treat our ladies lot equally in labs, in our educational institutions, at workplace? Of course, we can safely say that things have improved, but still we cannot say it's 100%, or we cannot say we are living in a perfect system. The primary reason is culture and social causes, and this cultural and social causes are reflected in organizations as well. And this is one of the main reason why there are organizations, right? They don't hire ladies because they know that they will marry, and they have to, they may migrate to some other place, or during pregnancy time they have to take day offs, or maybe a few weeks off, and they should be paid offs and things like that. So this is very sad. Means this should never happen. But there are companies, they are more for their profits rather than long-term benefit of society. I think there should be some changes with CSR. It means all those companies who will provide, let's say, this paid offs to ladies when they are pregnant, of course, and after pregnancy, whenever medical leaves are required, right? If they are given all those facilities, and there are few times where they can work from home, right? If we can create this environment, then we will see more ladies, more talent coming into the market, and this will help our whole society. We need more ladies at a leadership position, and this will create sort of then we will have many role models in our societies. Other ladies can look up to them, and they can join the workforce. So we need to make sure that the social shackles are not tight, or we need to get rid of them eventually. And ladies have played a very important role in Chandrayaan 2 mission on Mars. There was a movie as well of Akshay Kumar, Vidya Balan, and other. I don't know the names of those actors, but it was a very interesting movie, and we saw that ladies played a very important role in Mars mission as well. But things are not that great in our country as far as Global Gender Gap Index 2020 is concerned. Our position is very bad. We were at 108 position. Now we are at 112. So this 112. So this is 112 position. Sorry. So this is very bad for our country, and we need to do. I mean, it's all stakeholders, right? Government, people, individuals, family. Everyone has to do their bit to change this situation. And we have many cases in the past as well, like Madame Marie Curie, and there are other famous names that you will find in these articles. So the history of science shows that many revolutionary discoveries were made by women scientists. And that's basically everything in today's discussion, dear friends. I will see you with daily financial news analysis. Till then, enjoy your studies. God bless you all. Jai Hind.